It's another day, and once again, the Chicago Bulls have been featured in the trade rumor mill, and this time it's Alex Caruso at the top of it. It has been mentioned that multiple teams are going to be interested in his services as soon as he is made available on the open market. I'm your host, Joey Mercer. This is Bulls Digest, and before we get into it today, I just want to say that about 97% of you are not subscribed. So if you're looking for daily Bulls content, then look no further. We're here every day of the week, 7 days a week, doing Chicago Bulls content just for you. So make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications. You won't even have to search it up. It'll be right there for you as soon as we upload, so you can stay up to date with the Chicago Bulls. So first thing that we want to talk about today is Caruso becoming available. So how is this going to work? How is this happening? It has to do, of course, with what we've talked about multiple times this past week, as the Bulls are looking to rebuild. It seems like they're finally going to blow up this core, and it seems like we are going to be trading some monster trade pieces that we have right now and see what we can get in return. What value are they going to bring? So, the first thing I saw was an article by Bleacher Report, albeit I know at times Bleacher Report, not the most reliable, but this time I liked the article I read because it did lead to lots of speculation surrounding Alex Caruso. It says, NBA rumors, Bulls Alex Caruso on trade block would lead to a line of 10 plus teams. I'd have to agree, his defensive services, especially after that Phoenix Suns game, and how he played last season, there is nothing false about this article by Bleacher Report when it comes to that title, because that is definitely accurate when they think they can get him at a low ball price right now, underneath the Chicago Bulls. Next, I've read in the article, if the Bulls decided to make Alex Caruso available, the line of teams chasing him would stretch into double digits. That was NBA reporter Mark Stein, and he said that on his This League Uncut podcast Thursday. It says the mark right there if you want to go check that out live in the podcast. And that was with Chris Haynes of TNT and Bleacher Report. So yeah, interesting enough there that he already has some intel that there's going to be so many teams interested in Alex Caruso. We thought here at Bulls Digest, of course, that was going to be the case as he is such a great defensive player, but it wasn't said to be certain by any reporters. Now it is. Mark Stein has definitely come out and said that on that podcast, so we can be sure that that is certain, and he has lots of intel on the NBA, of course, and very close with the Chicago Bulls. Next is said, one of those teams is his former employer, the Lakers, which we've talked about, who have interest in Lavine as well, at the right price, according to the Athletics' Jovan Buha. He added that if additional Bulls players become available, the Lakers would also have interest in DeMar DeRozan and or former Laker Caruso, according to multiple team sources. So it's interesting. We actually talked about this in yesterday's video if you want to check that out. And now it's tying into today's video with Alex Caruso being featured multiple times. It seems like a deal that's going to happen the most is with the Los Angeles Lakers. It seems like it's going to be a very big blockbuster deal, as right now it looks like it's going to be either Lavine or DeRozan and Caruso. That seems to be the basis of this trade, and the other pieces on the other side are not certain, but I do feel like it's going to be centered around D'Angelo Russell, and I do think that is the best value they're going to get right now, because they could add a Rui Hachimura or some other pieces the Lakers have. They're definitely playable guys right away. Not saying this is going to make the Bulls a contender, of course, but it leads to some interesting and fun basketball to watch instead of players that might not or should not be in the league. The next thing that I read was from K.C. Johnson, of course, very close to the Chicago Bulls, saying, seeing Alex Caruso speculation almost daily. Now tied to Bulls potentially having fire sale if Lavine is dealt. FWIW, Bulls have rebuffed all Caruso overtures in past, and at least as of now, I've heard nothing to indicate they have interest in dealing him. Interesting, some guy that's closer to the team than Mark Stein and K.C. Johnson saying that the Bulls are not looking at dealing him. I think this is the Bulls kind of saying that they think they have a bigger trade value for Alex Caruso than just adding him into a trade. So I think that means that we could get some more value if it was actually to happen. They might have to sell lower on Zach Lavine and maybe higher on Alex Caruso. So it might be a fair deal all around, depending on what the other team is looking for. So the next thing I saw was from another member of Twitter, Hardwood Paroxysm. I think it is. I'm not sure. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. Definitely a different name. Says, y'all, Alex Caruso's not going to be a throw-in on the Lavine trade. His value is understood and his contract is manageable. Stop acting like you're going to sneak in Caruso. You can get him in the deal, I think, but price is higher. I also agree there. I just mentioned that, of course, saying that Caruso is not just another guy to throw in. He's not just a role player. He is an all-defensive type player. If he goes on a championship team, he's able to bring, similar to what Gary Payton II brought to the Golden State Warriors just a few seasons ago, but at a higher rate. Gary Payton II had some injuries with Portland and came back to the Warriors. There were some issues with the trade. However, he is not quite the player that Alex Caruso is. Caruso, I think, is not as good of an offensive player, but he's still a much better defensive player. Payton had more of the highlights than Caruso, but Caruso is definitely more consistent than Gary Payton II. Caruso's value right now, I do believe, is a starter caliber player, if not a solid prospect, because you can still get some years out of this guy, especially if you're a contender. You might have to overpay in order to get his services. Not trying to overvalue a guy that's on the Bulls. However, this is really what I'm thinking is going to be the trade where the Bulls haven't made it open like they have with Zach Lavine. And he is the one guy on the team that is not struggling so far to start this season, along with Ayo Dosunmu, of course, playing very well. But out of the top guys that have been mentioned in trade deals, he is the one guy that is performing at his peak. So interesting enough to see that there. Next thing I want to talk about today, and oddly enough, the last thing. What team is most likely to land him? Well, I actually saw there were some betting odds to see what team is most likely to add him. And I would like to talk down through those teams what I think is the most reasonable team for him to land on. And it might not be the Los Angeles Lakers in the top of the odds, so let's get right into that and see what they're thinking. It was actually the Sixers' favorites to land Caruso. We've talked about if there was a James Harden trade, it looked like it was going to be made for Zach Lavine. That could have been a very real trade. However, it did not happen. James Harden's now with the Clippers. They're having their own struggles, but Caruso still seems like a guy that could go to the Sixers. Would they deal Marcus Morris, Covington, some of those pieces like Batum that they got over, and maybe some younger guys? There's been links of a Furkan Korkmaz trade. Could that be something that happens for him to go to the Bulls? Not saying just Korkmaz, of course, but there's lots of pieces there that I like for the Bulls, and that's definitely a solid case. I actually see that trade working more than the Los Angeles Lakers, so I have to agree with the plus 250 on that. The Lakers have some solid value as well to send back to the Bulls, and we've definitely talked a lot about that, so no need more to discuss that here. And the Milwaukee Bucks, I'm a little bit more lukewarm on. They really don't have a shooting guard right now, and what are they giving up besides Pat Connaughton to match salaries? I don't really know if I like any of that. And then if we get Chris Middleton, where are you really going in that direction? They don't have the draft capital. I don't really like that move at all. And the Golden State Warriors, it could be okay, but I don't think they're going to give up on Moody or Kuminga, even though they probably should give up on one of them at this point. And I think the value for them is just too high, so I don't know as well how we'd match salaries and how things would work there, because Caruso isn't making that much money, but you still have to make up about $10 million, right? The Dallas Mavericks, interesting move there. They could definitely use them. They need lots of defense in that backcourt. I don't know what pieces they would have off the top of my head to send for an Alex Caruso, and I don't know if they would have the right guys to make up that trade value, and how much are their picks worth? Not so much at this point where Luka is still young. The Clippers at plus 650, they're not going to make any more deals right now for guards. They're not going to do it. I guarantee now that they have Harden, they're going to try to ride this out until at least deadline. And I think if the Bulls are to make a deal, it's happening sooner rather than later. I can't see them waiting around to make a deal with the Clippers. And what value, once again, are you getting back that you can't get from those top teams that we've talked about? The Hawks, interesting team. If they're willing to get rid of some of the younger talent, or if they're just willing to get rid of some of their veterans, I like Patty Mills. I believe they have Wesley Matthews on the team right now. I do like some of the pieces on the Hawks. I like that better than the Mavericks, Clippers, Warriors, or Bucks, to be honest with you. But the chances of them making that deal with the team they have right now, once again, very slim, although it would be a pretty good fit on the Atlanta Hawks. The last team here is the Denver Nuggets. They're not going to break up the core they had. They just won the championship. There's no need to move KCP out of the starting lineup. They're winning games. They have no worries. A deal's not going to be made. And I don't think they're going to just want to sit Caruso on the bench, as Christian Brown's been just fine. So I don't think the Nuggets are going to make a deal here, but I do want to definitely look at the Sixers, the Lakers, the Hawks. I do like those moves. I like those deals. Those are the deals we're going to be looking at, hopefully, and maybe a trade with those teams can certainly be done. I'm your host, Joey Mercer. I can't wait to talk to you in the next one. This has been Bulls Digest. Make sure to like and comment down below. Subscribe to the channel, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Signing off.